Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to provide a statement and clarification on the issue of national minimum wage, which of course many political parties and aspiring candidates are talking about without explaining the full consequences and the real truth behind it and of it, but more importantly, the impact on the economy, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me first contextualize and put this issue into perspective and give a few straight facts. It is the Bainimarama government, Madam Speaker, that first introduced the national minimum wage. It's a fact. Madam Speaker, it was the Bainimarama government that introduced the first national level minimum wage in 2014. And since then, Madam Speaker, it has been reviewed and increased twice and currently stands at $2.68 per hour with another review planned this year, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is important to note that this rate is only for unskilled workers and those who are not part of the 10 sectorial wage categories. Madam Speaker, those workers that fall under the 10 sectorial-based categories, of course, have their own minimum rate of wages, which is higher than $2.68, which, of course, many people, when they discuss this topic, don't tell others or fail to understand it themselves. So, for example, Madam Speaker, a foreman in the building sector has a minimum rate of $5.22 an hour. A Class 1 tradesman has a minimum rate of $4.30 an hour. An underground miner in the mining industry has a minimum rate of $4.69 an hour. A log truck driver in the sawmilling and logging industry has a minimum rate of $4.25 an hour. There are many other categories under the Employment Relations Minimum Wage Regulations 2015, which were amended in 2017 by the Employment Relations National Minimum Wage Amendment Regulations, Madam Speaker. Let me reiterate, Madam Speaker. Those under the 10 wage sectors, which include the printing trade, wholesale and retail, hotel and catering trade, garment industry, sawmilling, logging industry, road transport, building and civil electrical engineering trade, manufacturing industry, mining and quarrying industry, and security services, have a minimum rate of more than $2.68 an hour. Any employer that does not comply with this regulation should be reported and actions will be taken against them. There seems to be a lot of misinformation about the minimum wage and related wage regulations, Madam Speaker. It is also an area that the opposition have used to try and gain political mileage, Madam Speaker, but the truth of the matter is this, Madam Speaker. Many employers are, in fact, at the moment, paying far more than national minimum wage and the wage rates under the 10 sectorial wage categories, as has been highlighted on a number of occasions. The buoyant economy and the high labour demand in many sectors like construction, electrical and engineering services, manufacturing, wholesale and retail trade is naturally pushing up the wages through the market. So, for example, Madam Speaker, workers' minimum wage is set at $3.50 an hour, is being paid actually about $7 an hour. And other professions in high demand like qualified electricians are getting as high as $12 an hour. As I mentioned in the House in the Parliament before, welders are getting paid $15, $16 an hour. Construction workers, Madam Speaker, are also getting far more because of the construction boom we are currently experiencing. We have heard this story so many times, Madam Speaker, that construction workers move to the next contractor because he or she is willing to pay $1 more or 50 cents more or $2 more than their current employer. This increase in wages, Madam Speaker, is based on productivity improvements and is market-driven, which means it is affordable for the employers and also adequate to attract and retain these workers. And this is more sustainable, economically and financially sound, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are many on the opposite side of Parliament and many aspiring political candidates that are advocating an arbitrary national minimum wage increase to $4 and $5 an hour. I understand Sodelpa is $4 an hour and FP is $5 an hour. These numbers, Madam Speaker, appear to be plucked out of thin air to gain political mileage and lure ordinary Fijians. Such promises that will actually harm ordinary Fijians and disrupt businesses and the economy and put people out of jobs and diminish job creation, Madam Speaker. It's not only about those who are already in employment, we need to talk about those who need to be coming into employment. We want, Madam Speaker, to receive, of course, higher wages. The government, of course, wants that, and we're constantly carrying out review, Madam Speaker. However, Madam Speaker, we cannot fix these rates recklessly, as been proposed by the other side. The reality is we need wages to remain affordable for the employers, and employers need to be able to pay a rate that is sustainable. We also need to ensure it does not have an inflationary impact on our economy. Madam Speaker, this is why determination of the minimum wage needs to be done in a responsible manner based on affordability and productivity improvements. We need to be able to help as many Fijians as possible without disrupting the economy. Raising the minimum wage rate to the level suggested by the opposition will actually cause job losses. For example, Madam Speaker, many of us employ a domestic help, or unfortunately as in Fiji, we still call people house girls or housemaid. And I can guarantee, Madam Speaker, that there are many people, maybe within this complex and outside this complex, that actually don't pay their house girls $2.68 an hour, which they should be. If the national minimum wage rate, Madam Speaker, was increased arbitrarily to $5 an hour, I can guarantee you, Madam Speaker, that many of these employees will no longer be employed. The service simply becomes unaffordable. And I'll tell you why, Madam Speaker. We then create a situation, Madam Speaker, where most of these domestic workers who are previously employed and receiving $2.68 before are suddenly out of job. Let me give you an example, Madam Speaker. A stall in Dolphin's Food Court employs 3 staff, paying them about $3.50 an hour, above the minimum wage rate. If the rate is increased to $5 an hour, the small restaurant owner or our food outlet probably will have to lay off people. And this is not helpful to those workers, nor the business owner, neither the economy as a whole. Madam Speaker, what would happen to a person who currently earns, working outside, at $6 an hour and employs a housemaid at home to look after the children? But now they have to pay the housemaid $5 an hour. So the net that they will get is $1. Will they maintain, or will you find it a lot more economically viable for them to actually stay at home and not pay the $5 an hour whilst they're getting $6 an hour, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, then with unreasonable minimum wage, you can bet the skilled workers, those who are already above the minimum wage, if you jump from $2.68 to $5, which is almost double, they will also turn around to the employees and say, well, look, these unskilled people are getting $2.68, they were getting $2.68, now they'll be giving $5 an hour, I want my salary to be doubled also. So, Madam Speaker, what this does, we will actually have people who may be getting paid $6 an hour suddenly get $10 an hour. This will happen across the board and push up wages and prices, which will lead to an enormous inflationary impact. The cost of living will rise along with the price of everything else, Madam Speaker, including butter and lamb chops. Madam Speaker, inflation will accelerate, including instability in the economy. No amount of including more items of what you call basic food items and VAT exemption will salvage the situation. Madam Speaker, the other sad part is, which people don't talk about, there's approximately 130,000 Fijians who are self-employed, who do not receive wages like market vendors. The taxi driver who drives by profit sharing, the handicraft seller, the farmer, the fish seller, the hawkers selling purini or hot roti, and other owners of micro-enterprises will get affected adversely without a single cent increase to their income. They will just end up paying more. This is the reality what the opposition is proposing, Madam Speaker. In fact, Madam Speaker, it is not just these 130,000 self-employed that would bear the higher price without any increase to their income. We will all pay this high cost, Madam Speaker, but the burden will be heavier on those in the village, in the farm, the ordinary families, Madam Speaker. We have seen what inflationary impact has had on the job market in countries like Australia. Jobs have left, gone across borders to other countries into Asia. Madam Speaker, first then, they would have to pay $5 an hour to their farmhands and their babysitters and housemaids. Then they also pay higher prices at the bread shop, the supermarket, at the barber shop, even for their groceries. They get hit twice. These are the people informally employed. Madam Speaker, of course, Honourable Marissa Masoni. She is a business owner. Of course, she suddenly has to pay double than what she's paying now, or a bit more. She will obviously pass on the cost. That's just the way businesses are run. So that price of the bread will be borne by those people who are customers. Madam Speaker, this will have a price spiral effect and continue to make things even worse off. Madam Speaker, the reality is this. We need to understand that at this point in time, who will really benefit from minimum wage of $5 an hour at this point in time? No one at all, Madam Speaker, except giving political expediencies to political parties, going out and making these types of promises. Seems like a great idea. The reality is that everyone will suffer at the end. And people understand this wage spiraling effect, Madam Speaker. Many businesses, many small-time businesses, people who run their own businesses, are concerned about this this new discourse that is taking place, and they're already talking about foreclosures, Madam Speaker. They also understand the real implication of a promise to pay $100 per ton for sugar, and at the same time raising the minimum wage rate to $5 an hour for the labourers. There's no real gain. You can give $100 an hour, keep on increasing wages. On the other hand, what will happen, Madam Speaker? That is the reality if you add up all the costs. Madam Speaker, of course, as we know, it's been touted by political parties to manipulate ordinary Fijians and jeopardize the economy, all for political gain, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, recently, one of the provisional candidates, we understand, of Sodelpa gave a public lecture at USP. She's, I understand, a recent acquisition from another political party. And at the lecture, Madam Speaker, this candidate said, or provisional candidate said, that, and I have a recording of this actually on my phone, that they agree, that she agreed, that even with a $4 minimum wage increase up to $4, that small and medium businesses will get affected by this proposal. She actually agreed to that. But then she said that government will then step in and subsidize the small to medium-sized businesses that's going to be affected by the wage rise. What a preposterous and absurd and impractical idea is this? How is this even administratively possible? Of course, every business would line up to get the subsidy, a costly exercise that will inflate the nation's operating budget, and there will be no control over it. Businesses that would naturally be paying higher wages would also come to government for the subsidy. It is totally irresponsible, Madam Speaker, for the candidate to even suggest such a scheme. If she, Madam Speaker, is saying the small to medium enterprise will get affected at $4 an hour, can you imagine what's going to happen at $5 an hour? Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the candidate, like some of the other people, also made a claim that there's never been a study by IMF or any other bank or financial institution that correlates the hiking of minimum wage with unemployment. Again, Madam Speaker, this is straight false. Maybe the candidate has not even researched Google. But if you can go on Google on the internet, these studies are readily available. Let me quote, Madam Speaker, from a paper done in April last year by the World Bank. Quote, most of the evidence suggests that sizable increases in minimum wage are likely to exacerbate unemployment and the prevalence of informal employment, which could have a negative consequences for labour productivity and businesses as a result of reduced investment in employee training and loss of productive workers. There are many other studies, Madam Speaker, that clearly shows that an unreasonable hike in minimum wage leads to unemployment. There is statistical evidence of this, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, it also makes common sense. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or economist to be able to figure this one out. Madam Speaker, the government has taken a reasonable approach which is more sustainable, smarter and effective. Madam Speaker, the current rate of $2.68 was determined through a robust, comprehensive process that included a nationwide survey on wages and terms and conditions of employment in both the formal and the informal sectors, and careful consultations, deliberation with various stakeholders. We also involved an expert in this exercise. Everybody's free to come and give in their presentation. Trade unions, everybody else. Also, in the same way, the CCM, everybody's allowed to come and speak there, the trade unions, everybody else. Stop creating this nonsense about there's a fear of culture and nobody comes out and talks. The review took into consideration, this probably trying to justify the low number of turnout to your meetings. The review took into consideration the various income and expenditure support programs provided by the Fiji First government to help low-paid workers through what we call a sizable social wage. There is what we have, a sizable social wage. What is this, Madam Speaker? We have reduced people's out-of-pocket expenses so that they are left with money for other things, including for rainy days. There is free education provided so that parents don't have to pay hundreds of dollars in school fees for the children. We also provide free medicine, free water, subsidized electricity, subsidized bus fare, legal aid, price control on certain basic items, lower income tax rate and a higher tax threshold of $30,000, and of course a lower VAT rate, Madam Speaker. All of these are what you call social wages. They're targeted specifically to those people lower end of the socio-economic scale. Therefore, they have more money left in their pocket. They don't actually have to pay for all of that directly. So, Madam Speaker, what we are doing, we are increasing the spending power of people. Through these measures and many more, we have lowered the cost of living and significantly improved the quality of life for ordinary Fijian workers. This is what we call targeted assistance mentioned. We're also looking at the various inconsistencies within our economy. As we've highlighted quite openly, that there are many systemic issues within our economy, where about 5 or 6 companies, Madam Speaker, have a stranglehold on all the products that are sold in supermarkets, nearly 60 to 70%. We've empowered through the last budget. We've set up an economic intelligence unit in the Ministry of Economy. We empowered the Competition Commission to actually go behind the scenes and get rid of this monopolistic position, which will actually have a real impact on the price of the many products that are actually being sold in supermarkets. None of the superficial stuff about extending the list of VAT-exempt items, etc. We want to look at the real causes, not the superficial causes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our approach is reasonable and responsible and a smart one. The combination of adequate minimum wage and social wages does help achieve favourable outcomes for working Fijians without compromising the sustainability of the economy. We arrived at a current minimum wage through widespread public consultations, use of experts in the process, which will allow us, Madam Speaker, to increase minimum wage further. But it will be done responsibly. We've already made a commitment to review it again this year, Madam Speaker, and that will be done again without anybody plucking figures out. We'll be able to consult, talk, make the discussion inclusive so everybody comes along with it, as opposed to some group of politicians, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are looking at the future. And what is very critical for all of us in this Parliament to understand, that we must make decisions, sound economic decisions, not just for the elections. We need to make sound economic decisions, Madam Speaker, for the future. It would have been very easy for us to say, yes, don't worry, we'll increase it to $7 an hour, just to compete with them. We could have said that. We could have said that, Madam Speaker, but we didn't, because we are being responsible. We are not going to hoodwink the Fijian people. We are going to put in place, Madam Speaker, policies that have sustainability, policies that are not only for elections, but policies that are built for the future and the good governance of our country, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.